Hello everyone, Umbre here, and today I have something different for you. Basically, I came across something pretty interesting and thought I'd do a review of it. Although, maybe not so much a review as just kind of showing it off to people. I mean, I thought it was cool, so maybe you will too. Anyway, what I came across is known as the SupaBoy. And yes, that is me in the distorted reflection on the screen. So anyway, this is essentially a portable Super Nintendo. As you can tell, there's a slot here which you fit the cartridges in, and it takes the, standard Super Nintendo cartridges. I'm sure you could probably fit in like ROM cartridges as well, as long as they use the same form as the Super Nintendo. Anyway, let's get into some technical details. I've got it pulled up on the screen beside me. So, the length of the console is apparently 8.5 inches, so this is actually a very large, well actually not console, handheld. Let's say handheld. I call it a console because it's a Super Nintendo, and it's not particularly portable despite it being the purpose. Okay, width is about 4 inches, and the reported thickness is, that's not good. That wasn't so bad actually. 1.5 inches. So it's actually pretty chunky thing. I'll do a size comparison if you're curious. So let's get our standard SNES cartridge. This one happens to be Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest. So yeah, put that side by side. Let's fit that in the view. There we go. Yeah, as you can see, the SupaBoy itself is quite a bit larger than the cartridge itself, although makes sense considering this has to go in this. I'll give you another comparison just in case you never happen to own any SNES cartridges. Here is Nintendo's 3DS handheld system. Yep. So that should probably give you a pretty good idea of the size. The screen itself is about 3.5 inches, which I think is comparable to the 3DS's screen. Actually, no, this is a bit smaller. I think this is probably like 2.8 to maybe 3. I'm not sure. I never actually looked into the size of that screen. Alright, and as you may have noticed, there are some other ports along the top, not just the cartridge slot. There's an AV out, so you can connect this to your TV, as well as a DC in. That's to charge the rechargeable battery contained within here, lithium ion. And if you want, you can use this as sort of like a replacement console. So you just basically leave this plugged in. I think, yeah, there's an LED light that will glow green while it's charging and simply turn off when it's complete. So I'd assume that at that point it would stop using battery power and just take direct input from this little jack here. So you probably noticed the console, or I keep calling it a console, the handheld looks very much like the traditional Super NES controller, which is actually the only reason I bought this, more or less. I saw portable SNES and the design, which is the classic controller, and I was sold. I mean, like, look at that. That's pretty sweet. It's very faithful. It's got the exact same designs for everything. It's just upscaled to accommodate the size. And even the buttons themselves have like this sort of indentation on the X and Y, which I believe is how the original controller was, while the A and B have the more like outward rounded tops. So I like the attention to detail. Even the start and select buttons, while not in the center as they would be, they still have that same exact like shape and feel. Actually, I'm not sure if the positioning's the same. I don't remember if start was actually to the left of select or not. It doesn't matter. And here's a new button, the reset button, which would have just been on the console itself. Also on the system are two SNES controller ports. So this is to reinforce the fact that yes, it can be used as a console, not just a handheld. Although there is something I will make note of later on about these. I should probably make sure this thing isn't out of focus. Anyway, down below, you might have earlier noticed a standard 3.5mm headphone jack and the volume wheel, I guess you'd call it. I don't know what, I'm not sure what the correct term is for that. So I'd say that's a brief overview of the system itself. Oh yeah, shoulder buttons. Actually, I will talk about the build quality. It does feel solid, which is why I'm not too worried about that little like clonk I made earlier. However, the plastic doesn't quite feel up to par with like the plastic that you'd find on the original system or even the controllers. It feels a little bit cheaper, but honestly, I'm not too bothered. It still feels like it could withstand quite a bit, and I don't plan on just throwing this around, so you know, it's just a portable system. Oh, well, that seems somebody signed on to Steam. Actually, I'll go ahead and mute that. So, let's get into the software. Or, well, I mean, there's not much of like an interface for it. What I mean is just how well does it play the cartridges? Like, does it actually work? Well, yes, it does. Earlier, I showed this cartridge of Donkey Kong Country 2, so this is what we will use. So yes, you insert it in the top, just facing forward, unlike the Game Boy where you would normally you know, have the game facing backwards. And if you look on the back here, there is this lock, which is essentially just a piece of plastic that has like a little nub on the inside, and as you push this in, it just puts pressure on the cartridge to like secure it against the system. It's not necessary. The cartridge is not going to fall out. It doesn't really feel that loose. It's in there pretty tight. So yeah, don't have to worry about that. Now let's turn the system on. And there you go. You got the game. I think I have the volume completely off. Yes, I do. Right. What's the volume like for this? It's not particularly loud. In fact, I have it very low right now. Audio quality itself is, I would compare it to the Game Boy Advance, but maybe a bit tinnier. And there's actually a bit of distortion if you maximize it, which isn't that great. But personally, I wouldn't really want to play this with the volume very high, because and actually chances are if I did want some like good audio, I would just use the headphones. So I don't know if you can tell, but the screen is actually pretty crisp. I was comparing it to the TV earlier, and personally, I actually like the the screen's colors better. They're not as vibrant, but I find I can actually tell things apart a bit more easily. Actually, now that I'm looking at it on the camera viewfinder, it kind of seems to match what I was seeing on the TV a bit more than what I'm actually seeing with the naked eye. So I'm just going to turn the volume off, just in case that's distracting. And let's just try a bit of gameplay. I actually just bought the game today. I found it in a pawn shop because I was actually looking for games to play on this thing, just to test it out. So select file 1, yes, 1 player. Of course I can play 2 player, but not in the handheld, like, not in the handheld form, I guess you would put it. When being used just like this, I don't think you can use multiplayer. I haven't tried it, but there are other things I will get to that suggest that it would not work. So don't like take my word for it. But anyway, so let's get this going. I don't remember the controls for the. Okay, so the buttons are quite responsive. Well, these ones in particular, they don't feel sticky at all. They have a nice spring to them. The D-pad, however, it feels a little bit. I don't know how you would put it. It's kind of like resistive. Like there doesn't seem to be any clear indication as to when the button is actually being pushed down. It all kind of just slowly depresses as you push on it. Well, actually, I would say that when you press right and down, it has that effect. However, up and left have more of a clicky effect if you listen. Well, actually, honestly, you can't really tell with the audio, but I'm not sure if it's just my particular handheld or if they're all like that, but that's just how mine is. Start, select, yeah, they all work fine. So let's play this a little bit, grab those bananas. Grab, who's in here? It's Dixie, isn't it? Isn't that what she's called? Jump on this a little. Yeah, the game's playable. There's no lag or anything. Like I know the some systems that come out where they have like emulators on them, like what was one of them, like the Dingu, something like that. Then there's a couple other systems that are basically just designed to emulate old games. Apparently those had like actual lag, probably because they're ROMs and the emulators themselves just aren't very well designed. But this is running right off the cartridge, and the software and hardware clearly is capable of handling it. Not that that's, you know, a huge feat of engineering, but still, it's nice to know that when you're buying this, it's gonna play like the actual game as it would on the console and your TV. So definitely impressed with that. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off. Now, there are a few things I wanted to get into before I hook this up to the TV and just show off that it does indeed function as a console. I just thought that might be necessary. So I'll remove this cartridge. There we go. Because I have another one to put in. I thought it'd be interesting to see if the Super Game Boy functions on the SupaBoy. And I have tested this, and I can confirm that yes, it does in fact work. So here's the game I'm testing, Metroid 2 Return of Samus. So just stick that over here, plug this in, knock that over. Let's get our cartridge in, and let's turn this on. There you go. Super Game Boy. Runs perfectly fine. Game runs perfectly fine. Wow, that's a long startup sequence. So yeah. Just thought I'd make note of that in case anybody was wondering. I don't have any other peripherals to try out. This, just off the top of my head, like, I don't know, the Mario Paint mouse, I don't have one of those, so I couldn't tell you if that works. It probably does. From what I've heard about this system, is that most of the games, including like games from other regions like Japan, they all work pretty much fine on this system. Supposedly Donkey Kong Country always had issues. I don't know if it's just the first one, but I've seen people confirm that it does actually work, so I'm not sure what's going on with them. Anyway, I'll remove this, and let's hook this up to the TV. See you in a minute. Alright, so here we are in front of my very, very, very crappy TV, which isn't even mine, to be honest. It kind of came with the room, and I actually only dug it out of the closet that I was just keeping it in, just for this review. So yeah, anyway, here we have the console. The console. I guess it's a console now. I mean, really. Yeah, the handheld console, whatever you want to call it, hooked up to the TV. The wire sticks over the game, which is a little annoying, I guess. I mean, watch out for the wire if you're going to be pulling out the game, right? So it doesn't get yanked out. Because one thing I have noticed, watch, if I turn this on, like this, right, it's on, then plug this in after, okay, I'm an idiot. Or the other TV I did this on, which was at my friend's place. Hold on, I'm gonna lower this. Yeah, so I was at my my friend's place, and I thought I'd just plug this in, and on his TV, everything got all fucked up. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it was a flat screen. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah. Here's a couple things to note. You cannot use the handheld console. You know what? I'm just gonna call it a console. You cannot use the console's controls themselves to play the game while it is currently, you know, outputting to the TV. It just won't work. I've tried it. Nothing happens. As you can see, it's not reacting. So I unfortunately don't have any controllers to plug in and test it out, but based on this little demo that's playing from the game alone, I'm guessing the game will work just fine. What else to note? Yeah, the sound will not come out of the speakers while this is connected, which, you know, I guess it's obvious, but I'm just putting it out there in case this was a product that did actually you know, like output sound from its own speakers while connected to a TV, which would frankly piss me off. And it doesn't affect the TV volume either. Well, obviously not the TV's volume, but like the game volume, it doesn't affect that, which is good to know. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure there's anything else to touch upon, other than the fact that this works nicely as a console, works nicely as a handheld, and I'm pretty satisfied. You know, it's a nice thing to have, especially in case my Super Nintendo ever craps out. I have a backup. So this was my first review, pretty much ever, video review anyway. So let me know what you think, and like, be honest. I'm new to this thing, so if there's something that I should improve on, like anything, like speech, hell, even location, I don't know. Just let me know in the comments section. Anyway, thanks for watching.